Have you ever stopped to wonder what's really going on when milk sours on a hot day or when a slice of apple turns brown? Our world is just full of these little transformations happening right in front of our eyes all the time. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this invisible science and see what's really at work. Yeah, and we're starting with this quote for a really good reason. This isn't about just memorizing a bunch of facts, not at all. It's about learning to see the world a little differently, to start thinking like a scientist and really understanding the story behind all the changes we see every single day. All right, so let's dive right in. We'll start with some changes we probably all see, but maybe don't give a second thought to. Let's treat them like our first set of chemical mysteries that need solving. So take a look at these. What do they all have in common? I mean, from milk spoiling to food being digested in our own bodies, there's this fundamental process happening. The substance isn't just changing its form, like water freezing into ice, it's changing its entire identity. But how can we be so sure? Well, to figure that out, we need to gather some evidence. Okay, for our first investigation, we're heading into the lab for a simple but super revealing experiment. We're going to take a close look at what happens when you burn a simple ribbon of magnesium. This is our very first clue. So, here's the setup. It's pretty straightforward. We've got a magnesium ribbon held by a pair of tongs, and it's being heated by a burner. The whole key here is to watch exactly what happens the moment it hits that flame. So let's look closely at the reaction. And whoa, the first thing you notice is this absolutely brilliant, dazzling white flame. I mean, it is bright. This super dramatic flash of intense light is a major signal that something pretty profound is going on here. And then, after that incredible flash of light, look at what's left. The solid, metallic ribbon? It's completely gone, and in its place, we have this fine, white powder. The substance has totally transformed. Now, that is a critical piece of evidence. But one clue is never enough to solve a case, right? Right, one piece of evidence isn't going to cut it. To really solve this mystery, we need more. So let's move on to our next experiment and see what other clues we can dig up. This time, we're going to look inside a conical flask. So in this setup, we're just adding some dilute acid to little pieces of zinc in the flask. You can see that right away something starts happening around those zinc granules. What do you see? Just look closely there. See all those bubbles fizzing up and rising? That's another huge clue for us. Whenever you see bubbles forming like this, it's a dead giveaway that a gas is being created and released. But wait, there's actually one more hidden clue in this experiment. The instructions for this activity actually tell you to touch the flask. Now, if you are able to do that, you'd feel it getting noticeably warmer. The reaction is literally producing heat. Just another fascinating piece of the puzzle. Okay, let's recap. We've gathered our evidence. We saw a dazzling flame, a solid turning into a powder. We saw bubbles of gas, and we felt a sudden change in temperature. It's finally time to connect the dots, because these clues, well, they're actually the 4 telltale signs of a chemical reaction. So our first sign is a change in state. This is exactly what we saw with the magnesium, right? It started out as a solid metal ribbon, and it ended as a totally different kind of solid, that white powder. The second sign is a change in color. Just think about an iron nail. It starts out shiny and silver, and if you leave it out, it gets that reddish-brown color as it rusts. That color change is a clear signal that a brand new substance, rust, has been created. All right, our third sign is the evolution of a gas. Remember all those bubbles in the flask a minute ago? That wasn't the liquid boiling or anything. That was a brand new gas being produced by the reaction between the zinc and the acid. And finally, our fourth sign is a change in temperature. The flask getting warmer is a perfect example of this. That reaction was releasing energy in the form of heat. Now, some reactions do the opposite and get colder, but any unexplained temperature change is a really key sign. So now we have our detective toolkit. A change in state, a change in color, the evolution of a gas, and a change in temperature. Let's go back to those everyday mysteries we started with and see how this new knowledge changes everything. And you know what? It's really that simple. You can be a chemical detective in your own kitchen, in your own backyard. You see a change happening, you look for one of those four signs, and then you can confidently say, aha, that's a chemical reaction at work. And just like that, our mysteries are solved. The souring of milk that creates new substances which changes its state. Rusting iron is that classic change in color. Fermenting grapes, that's evolution of a gas. And cooking and digesting food involve multiple signs. They're all chemical reactions that we can now spot. Okay, so after seeing all these examples and identifying all these signs, what is the single most important idea here? What's the one thing we should really take away from all this? This right here, this is the crucial point. This is what separates everything we just talked about from something simple like ice melting into water. See, a physical change just alters the form, but a chemical reaction, that's a fundamental transformation. The very identity of the material is changed to create something completely new. And that kind of leaves us with a final, pretty wild thought. From the energy that's letting you process what I'm saying right now to the simple act of breathing in and out, your body is a non-stop chemical factory. Now that you know what to look for, just think about all those invisible reactions that are making you you.